2018, a 51-year-old woman drives her car through a gate and onto a Little League field. In an attempt to stop her, 68-year-old Douglas Parkhurst jumps in front of the car to try and close the gate. And thanks to the heroic act of Douglas, no children were injured that day. But unfortunately, Douglas passed away on his way to the hospital. Police arrested the 51-year-old woman, but the story doesn't end there. That's when we're brought to 4-year-old Carol Lee Ashby. On the night of Halloween in 1968, Carol Lee and her older sister are trick-or-treating. And with her older sister still holding her hand, Carol Lee is run over by a drunk driver. 45 years after Carol Lee's death in 2013, Douglas Parkhurst walks into a police station and confesses to being her killer. He admits to running Carol Lee over after a drunken night of partying. But because it's been 45 years, the statute of limitations has long run out. Carol Lee's older sister was interviewed in 2018 after the incident at the baseball field. She said that Douglas's being struck and killed made a complete circle.
Today we're going to talk about the disappearance of Lisa Irwin. She was born on November 11th of 2010 in Missouri. Her parents were Debbie and Jeremy Irwin. On October 3rd in 2011, Lisa went missing. As usual, let's just talk about the night. On this day, her father got home at 2:30 p.m., but he was going right back to work at around 5:30 p.m. Debbie was kind of upset. She didn't want to stay at home alone, but he was going to get extra money. So in order to avoid being alone, she invited her neighbor at around 10 p.m. They were drinking. Debbie claims that she checked on the children multiple times throughout that night. She also said that she only drank a little bit. Her last check-in would be at 10:30 p.m. when she fell asleep, and he arrived at 4 a.m. Now, when he first got home, he realized that the door was unlocked and a lot of the lights were left on. Now, normally the windows were opened, but one window in particular seemed like it was tampered with. He went around to check on all the children. Part 2 is already up. At this point, her father realized that she was missing. So he woke up his wife and they started looking around the neighborhood trying to see if she went anywhere. There seemed to be no sign of her, so they decided to call the police. But what was odd was that their phones were missing. Jeremy did have his work phone on him, so they were able to call the police with that phone. Unlike other cases, I don't think this case was handled badly. The police decided to question Debbie because she was the last one to see her. And this is where it gets a little weird. Debbie was interrogated for 12 hours. She first claimed she only had 1 to 2 glasses of wine. Later, she changed it to a couple. Then she said, well, I really had 9 to 10 glasses. She also said that she checked on her daughter at 10:30 p.m. But then later said that actually the last time she saw her daughter was when she put her to sleep at 6:30 p.m. Police asked her to take a polygraph test, which she voluntarily did. She actually failed that test, or so police said. There's really no way to tell, they can lie about that. But also polygraph tests aren't really reliable. And cadaver dogs had detected something near the bed. Debbie got frustrated. She thought the cops were wasting their time, so they stopped cooperating. Later on, 2 witnesses came forward saying that they saw a man carrying a child who was underdressed in the cold, and he appeared to be a homeless man. He was said to be tall and skinny. On the day of her disappearance, there also was a dumpster fire, and baby clothes were found in the dumpster. John Tanka, better known as Jersey, had committed petty crimes such as burglary. He was known to sneak into people's vacation home through their window. And when one of the missing phones were found, a call was made to a woman named Megan, which happened to be his girlfriend, and when she was interviewed, she stated that she had once told him that she wanted kids. So maybe he took the child in order to give it to her as a gift. Witnesses were asked to see if this was the man. Some said yes, some said no. So because of that, they had to release him. Now the cops went back to the house to see how someone could sneak into the house. They tried to see if someone could go in through the window, but there was still dust around the window that hadn't been messed with. So cops decided that there was no way they went in through the window. Remember, the door was supposedly unlocked though. And if Debbie was really that drunk, maybe she just didn't hear anything. There was a mystery child found in Greece, but it was determined it wasn't Lisa.
Let's discuss a case that keeps me up at night. I want to discuss the disappearance of Timothy Pitson. Timothy was the son of Amy and James Pitson. Unfortunately, Amy and James were on a path to divorce because James actually caught Amy talking to her ex-husband. Amy expressed to relatives that she was not happy about getting a second divorce. And I guess like most cases like this, people on the outside said the family seemed normal. Things took a turn for the worst. Amy here picked up her son Timothy from kindergarten way earlier than normal. She proceeds to take him on a 2-day road trip, going to like amusement parks and doing all kinds of fun stuff. Meanwhile, James has no idea why she did this or where they are. They're not answering the phone. They're not communicating with him at all. On May 11th, Amy was found dead in a hotel room by suicide. It left a lot of questions, but the biggest question is, where was Timothy? Security footage shows them walking together, so Timothy was with her. In the room, they discovered that her phone was missing along with all of Timothy's belongings, which is important later on. Amy left 2 suicide notes, one to whoever found her and then one to her mother. They were pretty cryptic. One of the notes stated that Timothy was fine and he was safe and with people that loved him, but the note to her mother said no one was ever going to find him. The investigation continued and they did find blood in her car that did belong to Timothy. However, they couldn't determine how long the blood was there, and the family said that he did get nosebleeds, so they kind of ruled this one out. His car seat was also missing. Oddly enough, she did take him on these kind of road trips before, almost like this was planned. James was absolutely baffled by this. He has no idea why she would do something like this, and he had no idea where Timothy was. Timothy would now be 15 years old. There's a little bit more to discuss though, including my theories. Let's get to part 3.
Unsolved Mysteries Part 1. In 2011, divers were searching the Baltic Sea when they came around this big, huge rock circular formation. It was said to have stairs and even creepy entranceways. Some believe it's some type of experimental ship from World War II. Strangely, it's made out of magnesium, iron, and titanium. And there's a strange 40 megahertz signal coming from around it. Could it be aliens? Could it be our ancient ancestors' technology? Scientists still don't know to this day, and it baffles them. What do you guys think it is? And like this video for part 2.
The strangest unsolved mysteries from each state. Today, we have Iowa. So you guys know the movie The Exorcist? Well, it's partially based off of this. This happened in Erling, Iowa, which they called the Erling Exorcism, which was the exorcism of Anna Eklund. Anna was a normal girl from Iowa. She went to church, she said her prayers, and then at the age of 14, she started showing signs of possession. Suddenly one day, she just could not enter the church, and she showed extreme aversion to anything religious, which was really weird because she was a very religious girl. It was reported that demons were literally speaking through her in Latin and other ancient languages that she had never learned. There was also this pea-sized lump right under her skin that you could see that would just freely move through her body. At the age of 26, Anna got help from a priest that performed the last sanctioned exorcism on her. It took 23 days with a lot of difficulty, but finally the last several demons that were in her were exorcised. Her case still remains a mystery and people debate whether or not she was actually possessed or just insane. Let me know in the comments if you think she was actually possessed or if she was just crazy.
How would you feel if you opened your family's mausoleum to see that everyone's coffins had mysteriously moved? Built in 1724, a mausoleum in a Barbados cemetery was purchased by the Chase family. 2-year-old Marianne Chase was laid to rest in a lead coffin along with the vault's single other occupant who remained in a wooden coffin. A few years later, Marianne's sister was also buried in the tomb, and a month later, the father, Thomas, passed. But this time, when they were burying Thomas to rest, the burial team moved the marble slab that sealed the entrance to the vault as they had before and discovered that the 3 coffins inside had been violently thrown around. The coffins were placed in their original spots and the vault was sealed. Before sealing the door, a layer of sand was put on the floor to detect any footprints in case grave robbers or pranksters were the ones who were doing this. Years after that, the vault was reopened to find that the Chase family coffins had once again been moved around with no footprints in the sand. All the coffins were removed and buried elsewhere in the cemetery, and to this day, the empty vault remains open.
Out here fishing. Found a fucking body, dude. Cowboy Littles right there.
What happened to Sandy Drummond? Sandy Drummond was found dead on a farm track near his home on the 24th of June 1991. On the days leading up to his death, Sandy quit his job without notice and withdrew his life savings before disappearing. On the day itself, he was seen running from his house to the fields opposite carrying a blue sports bag, which has never been found. At 2:30 p.m, a man was seen on a bus near Sandy's cottage with a blood-stained bandage wrapped around his hand. Several times before Sandy's death, and twice on the actual day, an orange orange Morris Marina was seen parked outside his cottage, but it's still unknown who owned this car or who visited him. The death was originally ruled as natural, but forensics later revealed Sandy had been strangled. Sandy had no enemies, he wasn't known to police, and they couldn't find anything to suggest he was in danger. His death shocked the community and devastated his mum, Effie, who spent the rest of her life haunted by his murder. The last time she saw her son was the night before he died.